Morning, and thank you for coming. Thank you for waiting. I am your moderator, Suvendrini Kakuchi. I'm a journalist. I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to our guest, Senator Rui Matsukawa. Matsukawa, excuse me. Yes, sorry about that.
It's okay.
And she's from the Liberal Democratic Party and is here to talk to us today about Japan and South Korea relations. Even as we speak, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol is in Tokyo, or is on the way at the moment, so this press conference is extremely timing. Ms. Matsukawa has an illustrious career. She is the Deputy Director, International Bureau, and has a law degree from the University of Tokyo. She was based in the Foreign Ministry, and she was also involved in promoting Japan-China-Korea cooperation as the Deputy Secretary General of the Information Corporation's Service in Seoul. So she speaks some Korean. She's also engaged in Japan-ASEAN cooperation, and is also the first director of the Gender Mainstreaming Division. So a very warm welcome to Ms. Matsukawa. And we will start with a little bit of your opinions and remarks, and we'll open the floor for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Durini-san. Today I'm speaking on my own individual capacity, but I'm really happy to be here today, because this is my second time in FCCJ here. And the last time was 2019. And when I came here to defend our nation, the Japanese government's position on the export licensing procedure against South Korea. And today is Japan-South Korean summit meeting held after 12 years of the absence. So I really hope that this time South Korea, President Yoon showed the leadership to show the thorny issue should be resolved by South Korean government, which was caused by South Korea. And today we have the summit meeting, and I really hope that today's summit could be the first step to open the new phase of the Japan-South Korean healthier, stable relationship. And because it's really important for both nations under this unbelievably worsening security environment. Japan nor South Korea has a luxury to play over 100 years ago past issues. And Japan-South Korean-US cooperation has never been this important, in my opinion. And I think every security expert will agree. So I hope after, by normalizing the two countries' relation, we are not just talking about Japan-South Korean relations itself, although it's really important. But I think two nations needs to work for the region and Indo-Pacific at large, because I do think the Japan and South Korea, if not without past issues meddling, can share the strategic interest over Taiwan or North Korea. Thank you.
Maybe we could talk a little bit about what you expect from this summit.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then maybe let me just add one basic things. Today is a day of start, but the most important thing is, I think the labor issue is the urgent and big issue that suffered the relationship between Japan and South Korea. And this labor issue, Japan has been very clear about that was resolved 1965 treaty when Japan and South Korea normalized a relationship. And unfortunately, under the Moon Jae-in government, which is a leftist government, the Korean National Court reopened the issue unilaterally and then caused the problem. So Japan has been very consistently insisting that South Korea needs to resolve this labor issue on its own within South Korea, not affecting our the 65 treaty, and which I think the president, actually, there's a proposal, the solution is doing that. South Korean governments will solve the existing funds, will reimburse the third-party reimbursement by using the method to stop the verdicts against Japanese companies forever, illegally. So that is, in that point, we appreciate, evaluate it's a good proposal. And so on that basis, we have to, of course, watch carefully whether that will be implemented, to the end. But I think it's a good start, and hopefully both people of both countries can appreciate the possible normalization of the two nations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes. So the floor is open for questions. Please come up to the microphone. Yes.
Hello, Stephen Borwick, Nikkei Asia. Could you just please expound on some potential areas for particularly fruitful cooperation between the two sides? If Yoon and Kishida are able to come away with a cordial agreement from today's summit, what kind of more tangible results would you like to see the two countries pursue in the kind of near-term future? Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, we have to recognize the present situation. Japan and South Korea has been in the lowest point of the relations for 10 years. So it's minus 100, let's say. Now I think we have come to zero. So it's from now we have to develop, restart developing. And my point, answering to your question, I think the security is one field. Japan and South Korea are the allies of the US. And we are neighbors, and we share the same concern over the North Korean missiles and nuclear weapons development, and also the Chinese huge military developments and pressures against Taiwan, and also our islands of Senkaku Islands. So, and then the Taiwan Straits, or the Bashi Straits, which is surrounding Taiwan, are the common very important critical sea lane for Japan and South Korea. So what I want to say is, one field is security. We have to enhance the Japan, US, South Korean security cooperations. And we had it as a framework, but because we didn't have the trust between Japan and South Korea, it was, even though you have the framework, it didn't really work. But I think if Japan and South Korea can recover the trustful relationship, our trilateral cooperation among Japan, US, South Korea will become more substantial, and will be more effective responding to the threats and concerns from North Korea and China. So that's one area. The other area is economic security. Taiwan's TSMC and South Korean Samsung shares almost like 80% of the world semiconductor of certain kinds. And it's very important and Japan is a supplier of the materials for them to make a semiconductor. We are in the supplementary relations at large. So I think the other area is economic security, which is very important. We have to have a safe supply chain of very important items, which is maybe most represented by the semiconductor and others. So that's a second field. And I think the Japan and South Korea, because of geographically very close neighbors, the people-to-people exchanges, especially the young people's exchanges are a very important field. Students, or maybe the workers. In many ways, I think being a neighbors means you don't need to spend so much time for the transportation. So I think there are lots of chances for the tourism, people-to-people exchange, young people especially. I think these are the areas we can expect expansion.
Anybody else from the floor? Yes, please.
Good morning, Gabriele Nivadi from Japan Times. I was wondering what you think about the actual durability of the current resolution. Possibly today they will finalize it, Yoon and Kishida will finalize it, but some experts, some people think that if the current opposition party in Korea then gets back to power in 4 years, then it will be reversed again. So what do you think about this?
There is a possibility, I think. I mean, the present solution proposed by, not proposed, actually presented by South Korean government is, I think, legally pretty stable, meaning that whether the plaintiff accepts the money or not from the fund, the government's fund, actually the funds, if they have enough money, and which is already enough because it's already offered by the POSCO. But anyway, the funds can reimburse the verdict money, requested verdict against Japanese companies, requested amount. And then it doesn't depend on whether the plaintiffs, is that right? Plaintiffs' acceptance or not. That is the scheme. So as long as it goes, there will be no damage, possibly cause and will cause against Japanese companies. But the one problem is the two governments hasn't really made it clear whether the rights of reimbursement by the funds is still remained or not. So as you are right. I mean, if the present Yoon government is okay, it's a conservative, and actually he's the one who proposed a solution. So, but if the government changes to the leftist, again, just like what happened to the Comfort of Women's Funds, which established in 2015, maybe the situation could be top over. That is a possibility, but there is a limitation of the claims. Because there is a jiko, how do you say that? Jikoってなんていうんですかね? Limitation of the time for make a claim. And I think as much as under the Yoon government, which has another 4 years to go, can resolve these remaining claims or potential claims, then I think it's more unlikely for any next governments to top over everything. I think it's very difficult, but there is a possibility. So what we two countries can do is to not let it happen. I think if the normalization of the relations show the better future and can develop the better relations, even though the next government is a different party, I think there is still we can narrow down the possibility. And yeah, that doesn't. I don't think the possibility of the turnover can be the excuse to not to do anything right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. If there's nobody else, we've got lots of questions online.
Okay.
Yes. We have the first one, Anthony Trotter, ABC News. Critics say Japan and South Korea's leaders are forcing improved ties in light of threats posed by North Korea and China. I ask, is fear a solid foundation for the new friendship?
I think the concern over the security is one background that two countries, especially South Korea, takes steps for the normalizations. But it's not really the foundation or the sole foundation of this time's two countries' efforts. After 10 years of the soured relationship, I think both, especially South Korean side, feel the needs to improve the relationship, bilateral relationship, because having the bad relationship with Japan doesn't benefit Korea so much. I mean, if you just take the very narrow view of this time solution, it's like Japan hasn't compromised anything at all for the history issues because we have been very consistent about 65 agreement. which finally in irreversible manner resolved all the issues, including these labor issues. But if you take a larger view, if South Korea can recover the relationship with Japan, and now President Yoon will visit US after this summit meeting with Japan in April, South Korea can improve the relationship with US. US-South Korean alliance will be stronger. And then G7 summit awaits in May. And, I think South Korea, this time, President Yoon has a much larger strategic perspective for his country to make a step to improve the relationship with Japan. And Japan also, it's benefit for Japan to have a South Korea, which is already a pretty stable economy with technology and military capacity, and have alliance with the US, be on our side rather than the other, right? So I think the fear is just fear, or I wouldn't call it a fear, but it's not a normalization is not based on the concern. That's one thing, but it's not a whole. It's more or less the creating a better environment for each of us. For Japan and for South Korea.
Okay. Question 2. President Yoon has put a lot at risk politically with the wartime labor compensation proposal. So is Prime Minister Kishida willing to match Yoon's with move something equally as bold?
I think for past issues, historical issues, it's very clear. Japanese position is very clear. I don't think Prime Minister Kishida cannot and will not make a compromise that will damage our basic position that 65 agreements resolved everything. But that's being said, I think what Japan should respond is not the specific solution or this, the labor issues itself, but Japan should respond to South Korea sharing the better future and the cooperation for many fields, security, economy, or the people, young people to people's relations. I think that part is what Japan should make efforts.
Yes, thank you very much. The last one, I think you've already answered about the durability of the project. The other question, Ilgin Yorulmaz, she's from BBC World Turkey. So similar to Japan, neighboring South Korea is going through a crisis of its own with a falling birth rate, which is the lowest among OECD countries, and a growing population. Have you checked the policies the government there is proposing? What are some of the lessons Japan can learn from South Korea?
Actually, maybe they are learning from us because we are the one who suffered from the lower birth rates first. Although South Korea's birth rate is much, much worse than Japan. Well, Japan's present birth rate is 1.2, and theirs is 0.78, I guess. And I think we share the same, problems. The reason why Japanese women or Korean women don't have babies is because, babies are so lucky in the number is because education cost is really high, child raising cost is too high. One. Second, women are too much burdened by housekeeping and child raising. We have to make it fair between men and women. So I think there are many things we have to do. Each country needs to do a lot. But I think what we should do, the agenda are pretty similar. So maybe we can have a better share the exchanges and experiences.
Okay, I'm going back to the summit. Rocky Swift, Reuters. Yoon and Kishida are reportedly going to have rice lunch together. What do you make of this type of food diplomacy? What significance, if any, do you attach to the choice of rice?
I think it's a request from the President Yoon because it's very specific. I heard he, when in a childhood, together with her father, visited Japan or stayed in Japan a couple of times, and so maybe rice may be his food of memory. I don't know. And then the food or sports can play, I think it's very significant role to make personal relations, between the leaders. I think Prime Minister Kishida and President Yoon can sit together and drinking together and spending time and talk about their views about maybe the two countries or the world, or maybe there are some hobbies or many. I think intimate time is really important to develop trust and friendship between the leaders. Leaders, in the end, are the human beings, and you need to talk to know the people and then get a feeling that, oh, you have a chemistry or maybe not. So I think it's a good, very important way to spend time.
Okay, Khaldun Azahari, Pan Orient News. It seems that South Korean opposition parties and some groups are asking Japan for more apologies. Do you think Japan should apologize again to South Korea?
No, I definitely oppose it. Japan, late Prime Minister Abe made the final, statement in this regards for Japan's past issues. And I think the reason why he made it is Japan will not make any new apology to any country. He was very clear about this, to put an end to repeating the apology to the neighbors. Although we do carry the stated positions, that's clear. We do recognize that Japan has a responsibility to make a position and also the apology for the past colonial issue. But we won't make any new apology, and which is actually especially wrong for these labor issues, because these people came to Japan voluntarily, most of them, because Japan's is much more profitable than the Korean Peninsula under the Japanese Empire, and then there is no fact that the Japanese company discriminate the Korean people. They treated their workers equally. So in many ways, there is no reason for GOJ, Japanese governments, to make apology for the labor issues. But that being said, I think our governments and our leaders really want to improve the relationship with South Korea, and we want to, I also would like to see the future rather than the past. And that is necessary for our two countries, I think.
I'm sorry, there are some related questions to the apology aspect. Andrew Horvath, freelance. How much importance would you place on historical reconciliation as a component in the improvement of relations between Japan and South Korea? In the case of Germany's foreign policy, clear statements by German leaders accepting past bad behavior as historical fact seems to have helped Germany to strengthen ties with former victims of past aggression. Do you think Japan-ROK ties would be helped if Japanese leaders too came out with unequivocal statements accepting official responsibility for past mistakes, such as the recruitment of comfort women and the use of forced labor?
Actually, Japanese government has many times apologized already, made our statement very clear over the apology, and I forgot the specific English wording for our colonial occupation. So we already did it a couple of times. And then the problem is, even though the Japan made an apology, it didn't really work. That's the problem. That's why the Prime Minister Abe made a final statement and then put this apology, reputation apology, to an end. And I think the President Yoon also do understand that. I think these, begging Japan for apology is not something that maybe South Korea should do. It's already a big economy. And Japan-South Korean relation has been reset during the Prime Minister Abe's time, I think already. And And then also the other thing is I do think it's really wrong for making a comparison between Japan and Germany. It's very different, I think. So.
So many, I'm trying to. We have Regis Honor, La Figaro. His question, what do you think of Mitsubishi Chemical, who made financial efforts towards former US and Chinese slave laborers? Also, as a Japanese woman diplomat based in Seoul, have you yourself met former comfort women? If so, what impact did such meetings have on you?
I never met the comfort women when I was in Seoul, so I cannot really comment on the second part of the question. Regarding the first part of the question, what was it? Oh, yes.
What do you think of Mitsubishi Chemical?
Well, I mean, that is a common asked question, and I really want to make it clear. The China and South Korea are very, very different. China, when in 1972, when Japan and China normalized our relations, opened up the relations, because before that, Japan was recognized Taiwan, not mainland China. In 1972, China abandoned the rights of the compensation, to receive compensation from Japan, although they had it. We fought the war with China. So they didn't receive a penny from Japan. Whereas South Korea, when in 1965, after 15 years of the long time negotiation, although the long blank time, Japan paid 5 billion? 5 billion yen? Was it? No, 500
million.
500 million, right?
Yeah.
500 million yen. Is that correct? But not only that, Japan left the national asset and companies' asset and also individual assets left in Korean Peninsula, which was worth of 5.3 billion, is that correct? US dollars worth. Well, half of that was South Korea, but North part is also included. So my point is, and then at that time, the South Korean national budget was 310 million US dollars. So which means I want to say, make the point is, Japan made a negotiation very clearly, and especially regarding the labor issues, Japanese government offered individual compensation to these laborers, these people. And it was South Korean governments who said, no, please give the South Korean as a whole, including these individual compensation. South Korean government will distribute the money if necessary to these people, so do not make individual compensation, although Japanese government offered a couple times. So my point is, they received the money and the worth asset 8 times more of than national budget. And then even though Japanese government offered individual compensation, it was South Korean government who refused it, and instead they requested all the aggregated amount of money given to them, and saying that they will distribute. And they did it actually twice. Omuhyun time, and I think the previous one, I forgot. But anyway, they distributed twice. If the laborers, these people do not satisfy with the money distributed by the South Korean government, they have to request the money to these, South Korean governments, because we gave it to 1965 already. So I think that's very clear. And so Chinese case, which didn't receive, a penny from Japan when they normalized the relations for compensation, and South Korea, who received 8 times of large amount of money from Japan in the opening up the relations, is, I think, very different. You cannot make a case together in a similar manner.
Okay, thank you. Question, Martin Kerlin, Handelsblatt. South Korea government is talking about raising local private funding. Mm-hmm. Will Japan's government allow Japanese companies to contribute to the fund on a voluntary basis?
For which, there is 2 funds, so I would like to be clear.
He's talking about the latest.
The latest.
The raising local private funding for the wartime.
No. There is two funds. One fund for the wartime labor is already existing. You don't need to create it. It's a South Korean government's fund, and it's already existing. And the other funds, the two Japanese economic Keidanren, and Keidanren is, how do you say that? Economic, I don't know.
That's fine. Keidanren.
Keidanren and Zenkeiren of South Korea. These two countries' economic people are talking about establishing certain funds for future. For example, like Japanese young people and South Korean young people, students receive the 奨学金って何て言うんですかね? Scholarship, or maybe well, anyway, for the young people's certain people-to-people relations. So which is nothing to do with wartime labor. And then existing wartime labor, I don't think Japanese government will voluntarily contribute, make a contribution. I don't think so, and I think it's not very appropriate either.
Okay, so that's...
Although Japanese government will totally okay if some Japanese company wants to make a contribution to the wartime funds, we don't. I mean, GOJ won't stop it. It's nothing like we will stop it or anything.
Okay, there's a follow-up question from Patrick Welter. You said Japan and Germany are different cases. Could you please explain why?
Well, Germany with Nazis, they cleansed ethnicity, Jewish, sending them to the gas chamber. I'm sorry, Japan put more money than actually the mainlands to Korean Peninsula and also Taiwan too, because our policy is to make the Korean Peninsula the same as, same standards of living as Japan. So it's very different. Although I do think it's not a view of the Korean people, so that's why the Japanese government made apology in the past, a couple of times, actually many times. So I'm not saying it's the good thing, but we need to take responsibility. But it's totally different, I think. There is no Nazi in Japan. It's more or less the 19th century's colonialization. That's what Japan did. It's not a crime against humanity or the ethnic cleansing. No, I mean, the number of the Korean people actually increased. Actually, the education level went up. Although I don't think it's I'm not trying to make the Japanese occupation of the Korean Peninsula legitimized or anything, but my point is just very different what Germany did and Japan tried to did. I'm very different.
Okay. Andy Sharp, Nikkei Asia. You said that Japan and South Korea need to have stronger ties due to regional security threats. But the Japanese government stance when imposing export controls on South Korea was that it has national security concerns that technologies might fall into the wrong hands. Is there now enough trust on the Japan side to drop its restrictions?
No, I mean, we have to restart the talk. Because it's a different issue from the wartime labor case, actually. But the reason why the Japan changed the export license procedure vis-a-vis South Korea is because there was a concern over the export control of their ability. And then we have to, Japan and South Korean authority decided to talk. And then South Korea actually a couple years ago after, I think it was when, I don't remember, but they said they improved because Japan requested, they improved certain procedures. Like the number of the people working for the control has been increased, or like they have introduced a certain system for covering the catch-all restrictions. But since we haven't talked for how many years? 4 years? The communication was cut off during this time. The authorities needs to sit and talk, and and unless Japanese authority make sure that their standards and capacity has been improved, they cannot change the situation. But if they can, confirm that the South Korean export control procedure or the capacity has been improved enough to the standard that Japanese authority requests, yes, we can recover it. So I think that will be the start. There is no set results yet.
Okay, one more question from Ilgin Yorulmaz, BBC World Turkey. How do the ethnic Koreans who are permanently based in Japan react to the Chinese threat and the recent softening of relations between Japan and South Korea? Which areas do they want to see the most improvement, ethnic Koreans in Japan?
Maybe overall, I would say, I received a question of the export licensing procedure or security, but it's not just which area is more important than the other. I think our two countries' relation has been historically at the bottom for many years, and I do think the bad relations affects in many areas, and normalizing the relations will in the other way, by normalizing the relations overall, that will have a positive effect over all fields. So my guess is not very specifically this part or that part, but I think having the leadership better relations, showing that the two leaders will talk about the future rather than the past, and then possibility of exploring many cooperations in many fields, that is, I think, affecting in every field in a positive manner. So I cannot pick up one.
Yes. Yes. I think a lot of the questions were similar, and we've covered the apology aspect, compensation. If there's any more questions from the floor? Yes. Yes, please, yes.
My name is Kurt Sieber. I'm an associate member, and I have been with the press club for 45 years. I have come to Japan in 1960, and actually I also was 30 years in charge of Korea, and I was practically going back and forth every month. First of all, I would like to say great happiness to see that these talks have started, and it is very important, and many things have changed. I mean, what I see today is that the average salary of Korea is higher than Japan. So there is some power also in Korea, and it's a good thing to see that our present Prime Minister is going very much in the right direction. So thank you so much also for coming here. We are very happy to have somebody important person from the LDP, and we hope to see more from you as we go on. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much for the comment.
Thank you very much. If I may just to reciprocate warm words, I think over the case there are lots of changes, and I think I hope actually South Korean people, especially younger generations, have a very different perspective over the future of Japan and South Korea in better way, my point is, because South Korea, as you pointed out, has even a better average of the salary per capita income than Japan. I mean, it's so, and then their technology, now that Samsung is a world leading semiconductor producer, and K-pop and, you know, the Netflix has lots of Korean dramas. And what I want to say is they have more, Japan tried to treat South Korea equal. And that was a reset of our relationship during the Prime Minister Abe's administration. But I think now that South Korea also tried to see, with a new leadership of President Yoon, see Japan as a more equal partner than some, you know, some higher positioned person or country which South Korea needs to beg for the apology. So I think it's a much healthier thing for two countries. And with that note, I have higher expectation for the young people of the both countries to develop a better future of the region. And I think the political leadership has played a very significant role this time to hold a summit meeting after 12 years of absence. So, thank you.
Okay, and as we spoke a little bit before we started the press conference, if I may take the summit beyond Japan and South Korea, and Japan's, Prime Minister Kishida's leadership in taking Japan into Asia. There's a strong, a closer relationship with India as well. So how do you see Japan emerging from this summit into Asia?
Oh, this summit?
Yes.
I don't know, not this only specific summit with South Korea, but Japan has been developing our diplomacy to establish a free and open Indo-Pacific, and where especially India is a key role to play. Without India, there is no Indo-Pacific. It was just a Pacific in Asia. So Quad, starting from Japan, US, and India, and Australia, 4 pillars are the very important countries to support the free and open Indo-Pacific. And that is one diplomacy. And if the Japan and South Korea can normalize the relations, and if we can, as time goes and then doing many communications can recover the trust. Now, before Moon Jae-in time, there was a minus 100 points. Now that comes 0. We have to develop from now. Today is a start of the 0. So, but that's being said. But if we can, Japan and South Korea can recover the trust through relationship, I think Indo-Pacific, creating free and open Indo-Pacific, we can also have another partner. That's also, I think, a good thing for the region. And India just surpasses the population. Its population surpasses China this year. And then we expect their GDP will be the largest soon. Not soon, but in the end. And so India is very critical player in the world. And not just the Quad. I think India has a relation with Russia too, and then it's a leader of the global South. We now live in a very different era from the past, much more divided, multipolar, and it's a time of a very fluid situation. And I think Japanese diplomacy needs to be creative for making the region peaceful and prosperous, together with many partners, starting from India or US, India, Australia, or UK, and European countries, and ASEANs are very important. So many Pacific Islands countries, and now South Korea could be at one, and so many things we have to do.
Yes, so Japan will be ready to.
Yes.
Okay, I just have a follow-up from Reggie's honor. La Figaro. It's a bit different to what we spoke now, but as a follow-up, in Japan, Asian migrants are sometimes subject to very harsh conditions that seem near forced labor. For example, some women are forced to abort or lose visa if they are pregnant, or men are beaten up, caught on camera with no criminal sanction for the Japanese companies. Are you shocked by the treatment today of migrants? And do you think there is a continuum between labor then and labor now?
Sorry, can you just say the last part?
Yes. Do you think there is a continuity between what the forced labor before and labor now happening?
I don't think so. And also, I'm sorry, I'm not really knowledgeable about the specific cases. But if there is any of such kind, shouldn't be allowed. And currently, the government of Japan is under discussion for the ways, methods, scheme to accept the foreign laborers in a better way. We have a different system, 2 different systems, and then they are now talking about how to make it more suitable. So that's one thing. And then nothing to do with the wartime labor, actually. I don't think. And then even I do contest what the reality, the reality of whether the reality of the facts of the Japanese occupation is known. During 4 years of the war, from 1941 to 45 ended on August, most of the time it was voluntary labors, not forced labors at all. Because Japan is much more profitable than Korean Peninsula. Many people want to come to Japan. They got an interview. Actually, so I think it's really a wrong picture. You can't really make the whole picture just taking one example or the piece of the knowledge that you get from some other, the sources. And I do contest.
Thank you very much. Any more questions? No more questions from the internet. Okay, so then I would like to thank very much Senator Matsukawa for coming and sharing your opinions.
Thank you.
Of course, we wait for the summit and also the G7 summit from Hiroshima, the message of peace. So,
Thank you so much.
thank you for coming. Oh, and we have